Good morning, everyone. Today I will be presenting Bigger Than Fear, an integrated marketing communications campaign designed to increase the trust and behavioral adoption of LED shark deterrent surfboard technology among Australian surfers. This is the mandate. The campaign is grounded in one research insight. The issue is not shark awareness. Surfers already accept ocean risk as part of the surf culture. Instead, the primary barrier is the lack of belief in the solution itself. Research identified distrust, cultural incompatibility, and performance concerns as the main barriers towards the existing deterrent technologies. This reflects the risk normalization theory, where repeated exposure reduces the perceived vulnerability over time. As a result, fear based communication becomes ineffective because surfers already normalized uncertainty. Therefore, rather than positioning the technology through fear and protection, the campaign strategically reframes adoption of the technology through confidence, emotional growth, and cultural acceptance. The campaign strategy is called a behavioral normalization strategy, which will position the product as a trusted and culturally accepted part of serve behavior rather than an outsider safety device. The core campaign message is bigger than fear. This positioning reframes the protection as empowerment rather than a weakness, allowing the technology to align more naturally with the surf identity and the surfing lifestyle values. To achieve this communication objective, the campaign uses three integrated channels that progressively builds emotional connection, experiential trust, and cultural legitimacy. The first channel is the hero film. Because fear based messaging is unlikely to resonate with surfers, the campaign instead uses the emotional storytelling to reduce the psychological resistance to adopting the deterrent. The advertisement follows a child learning to surf gradually progresses into adulthood while continuing to surf with the LED deterrent technology integrated into the board. Each stage symbolizes vulnerability, growth, uncertainty, and eventually confidence. Rather than communicating fear elimination, the film communicates becoming bigger than the fear itself. The hero film is distributed across YouTube, Instagram Reels, and TikTok to maximize reach and awareness during the campaign's launch phase. The second channel is the Red Bull Night Serve activation. So, research identified that the stage aligns with the technologic adoption research, in which perceived usefulness, trust, and safety strongly influence the behavioral acceptance. Therefore, the campaign strategically shifts from an emotional positioning to an experiential marketing to reduce the uncertainty through visual demonstration and immersion. The activation transformed the technology into live nighttime surfing experience, featuring illuminated surfboard, underwater visuals, cinematic drone footage, and live demonstration. This creates both memorability and experiential credibility while positioning the technology in an exciting, immersive surf environment rather than a clinical safety context. This stage also aligns with the technology adoption research, in which perceived usefulness, trust, and safety, strongly influence the behavioral acceptance. The third channel, lastly, will be the cultural integration through an Australian vintage brand called the Rip Curl. Research findings showed that surfers are heavily rely on peer endorsement, authenticity, and cultural compatibility when evaluating new technologies. This reflects Rogers' diffusion of innovations theory, where um, adoption increases through peer influence and cultural compatibility. As a result, the campaign embeds the technology naturally into the surf culture through Rip Curl ambassadors and surf influencers. The campaign also incorporates Cialdini's principle of social proof, as surfers are more likely to trust the adoption of deterrence when endorsed by respected surf communities rather than by a corporate messaging alone. Together, the three channels progressively build behavioral adoption. Implementation strategy mirrors this behavioral progression. The campaign uses a pulsing scheduling strategy to maintain a continuous cultural presence while intensifying the promotional activity during the key surfing periods and experiential activation. Different media weightings strategies are also applied throughout the rollout. The launch phase prioritizes high reach to maximize awareness, while later stages prioritize higher frequency exposure through repeated influencer content and surf media integration to strengthen the trust and recall over time. As you can see, the timeline, the campaign launches in January with the hero film to build awareness, which then shifts to the Red Bull Night Surf experiential activation in February, March, and then concludes with Rip Curl cultural integration in about April. And most of the budget is allocated to experiential activation to overcome trust barriers. Although the campaign offers strong emotional and cultural integration, several challenges remain, such as skepticism towards the emerging technology, and then like high costs of experiential activation and resistance from traditional surf communities. Overall, Bigger Than Fear redefines shark deterrent technology uh, as within the surf culture. Instead of relying on a fear based protection messaging, the campaign strategically reframes the adoption of deterrent through the emotional identity and emotional trust building and cultural normalization, which ultimately will help the surfers embody rather than surf whilst being anxious. Um, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for your attention.